High School. Skip Peters, who teaches shop up there. He's also done some youth wrestling coaching, and he's got some direct experience with 9/11 14 years ago. So we're going to talk to him and get some of his thoughts on yesterday's anniversary and that time in our nation's history. Good morning, Skip. How are you?
Good morning. How are you today?
Pretty good. I guess you work with my brother up there, Paulio, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Up there at Lacey High School.
Yep. Give us a little bit of background on yourself and some of your direct experience with 9/11 14 years ago.
Sure. Prior to becoming a school teacher, I was in the Carpenters Union, and I did some welding experience. And I felt I needed to go up there and help look for survivors. I was a certified welder, so I used to work with torches and whatnot, and I knew they needed help up there cutting some steel away, looking for survivors and whatnot. But unfortunately, I got up there Friday after 9/11 was on a Tuesday, and I got there Friday afternoon after work. And I spent about 15 hours up there looking, but once I got inside the pile, and realized it was more recovery tactics more than looking for survivors. It was pretty rough.
What was your initial reaction when you first heard about what was happening on that Tuesday morning at around 8:30?
Well, I was working on a job right on the bay at a bunch of condos. I also have a small construction company. And as I was working, I heard a lady screaming horrifically on that beautiful day. If everybody remembers, it was no humidity. It was a perfect clear day out. And a lady's windows were open, and she was screaming horrifically. And I was working with one of my co-employees. And as I walked down to her condo, I said, "Ma'am, are you okay?" And she's like, "The plane hit, the tower." And I said, "What?" And I walked in. She invited me into her home. I'll never forget it. And I looked on her TV, and we were watching it. And my first thought was that there was a tourist plane, obviously, trying to get a little close to the towers, and didn't realize what he was doing and crashed into him. But as I was watching TV, the second tower was hit. And then I realized there was obviously something going on. And then I continued to watch and realized what was happening. We were under attack. My biggest fear was working right on the Barnegat Bay and having the ocean there was the nuclear power plant in Forked River, which is one of the oldest ones. And that was one of my fears, was another plane over the skyline of the bay and the ocean, was looking for a plane coming in that direction. Nothing I could do to stop it. And that was one of the main things that I recall on that day of 9/11.
What do you remember your emotions going throughout the day? Like yourself, I saw the second plane hit live on TV, and that's when it really hit me that this is more than just an accident. This is something going on. We're under attack as a nation. And I can remember just sitting glued to CNN for probably 3 straight days. I think I was up till about 3 in the morning each night. It was just incredible to watch everything that was going on and try to process what was happening at that time. What are some of your memories from that first day?
I think the first day it was being so close in our backyard, New York City being so close. Is what can I do as an American to help? What can I do to help out these families where these people, all they did was they went to work that day. They got up, they went to work. The people on the planes, they got up, they were going to see family that was sick, possibly in California. The one plane was out of Boston to California. Mm-hmm. That was the biggest thing. What can I do to help these families? And I think the thing that posed my mind the most, I spent about 15 hours up there on that Friday, and I took a ferry over from Jersey City. And when I came back from the ferry, I still have these visions in my mind, was family members holding up pictures in front of me. Did you see my brother John? Did you see my father Stevie? Did you see my Aunt Cindy? And people coming up to me as I was crossing, coming off the ferry, and holding pictures of my face. People asked me if I saw the family members in there. And it was kind of tough to answer them because I knew that there was no more survivors coming out of that pile from what I saw, the experience that I saw. I was up there. So I think that's what hit me the hardest, is the family members of these loved ones that really is embossed in my mind.
We're talking with Skip Peters, who is a teacher up at Lacey Township High School, also does some contracting on the side, and was at 9/11 on the Friday following the Tuesday attacks, helping out with the recovery efforts. Skip, give us a little bit of insight into what was your initial reaction when you reached ground zero.
my initial reaction was, by the time I got there, there was a lot of people getting hurt as volunteers. And when I got off the ferry, there was a table there, and a gentleman said, "What construction company are you with?" And I informed him I wasn't there as a contractor, I was there as a volunteer. And he said, "We're not taking volunteers anymore. You have to be working for somebody. That way you're insured. If God forbid you get hurt in the pile." And I kind of looked at the guy, and I told him that's pretty much blood money. I said, "I'm here to volunteer my time to help." And I walked away and went down the street, and I guess I was trying to forceful, and I found another way in. And when I did get into another table, a gentleman grabbed me and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm a welder. I can use a torch and whatnot. I can help run through steel looking for survivors." Thinking at the time I was going to look for survivors, but they turned out to be just parts of bodies that we wound up burning out or taking out of the pile. And the gentleman had me pull up my sleeve. I had long sleeves on, knowing that I'd be working around metal and sharp objects and whatnot, trying to protect myself. And the big plastic marker, he wrote my social security number on my forearm, all the way up to big black numbers. And I said, "What's that for?" And he says, "Here's the polishes, we'll be able to identify it."
Wow.
And that hit pretty hard. And I guess the first 2 hours, what I did was a part of a bucket brigade. And what the bucket brigade was, the detectives and CIA and FBI, they were looking for any type of evidence whatsoever in this pile. And they were digging by hand and loading things into spackle buckets that were actually debris of the buildings that had, no sign of evidence of terrorism in these buckets. It was just dirt and steel and whatnot. And there was people online, probably 200 people online, just passing buckets back and forth, full buckets and empty buckets in line to another pile that there was no evidence in there after it was searched through. I did that for about 2 hours, and then I hooked up with 3 New York firefighters. We were up on the piles with a torch, and we were up there cutting through steel, and as I was cutting through steel, they were grabbing body parts and putting them in different bags and labeling them and whatnot in evidence bags.
We're talking with Skip Peters, who is a teacher up at Lacey Township High School. Skip, a lot of what I do is involved with high school athletics. I'm out covering games every day and seeing these high school athletes, and it's difficult to put in perspective that these kids were 2, 3, and 4 years old at the time. What's the reaction of kids nowadays, 14 years later, when they don't really have any direct memory of what happened?
Right. I spoke briefly yesterday in school. It's funny you say this, and the kids are about 4 years old right now, 3 to 4 years old, their age. And honestly, about 6 of my students remember what happened and how their parents reacted, and how some of them got picked up in nursery school and preschool. Their parents came and picked them up, and they were asking why. So surprisingly, some of the students that young did realize that, and a lot of students were up on their history. When I was speaking about it yesterday in class, a lot of kids knew there was 4 planes involved. A lot of kids knew that, about Flight 93, that the flight was taken over and crashed in Pennsylvania. A lot of students knew, that 1 hit the Pentagon and 2 hit the towers. But I guess they enjoyed the presentation. I spoke briefly, about what I went through personally, and they were very attentive about it.
What was the reaction to that? I mean, here's a guy who has personal experience being at ground zero in that pile of rubble, and did they understand the emotions that you were going through?
They did. Being a school teacher, you need to filter what you're talking about and what you're saying. And with some of the sites up there, obviously, I didn't let them know some of the sites that I've seen, but one student said that he watched videos of some people taking their own destiny and deciding that, being in the tower, that they were jumping, and that they were watching videos online at night the night before. And I told them, yes, that some people actually had to make that old decision that they were stuck up there in the 78th floor with, fire and heat, and the stairwells were taken out with the impact of the planes. They had no escape to getting out. And they made that old decision and did that jump.
Yeah, I think that was probably the most disturbing thing for me was seeing those people leap from 70 to 100 floors up, knowing that their life is over, and just an incredible experience going through all that. Do these high school kids, these high school athletes, what's their perspective on it? A lot of their parents are around my age, early 40s, that kind of age group, who were, in their late 20s when this happened. Are they at the age where they can really understand what it meant to everyone involved and what it meant to this country?
I think they understand what had happened in the country, and I explained to them how the country has changed. One of the questions I asked in class yesterday, I have numerous athletes all have football jerseys on for the big game tomorrow today. And a couple questions I asked was, I said, when's the last time someone was on a flight? Sometime, flew somewhere on a flight with a family. And kid raised his hand and said, I was at a wedding last month. And I said, okay, so let me ask you a question. I said, did you have to take the shoes off? And he said, yes. And I said, do you know why? And he said, no. And I said, because of 9/11. I said, did you go through a full-body scanner? And he said, yes. I said, do you know why? And he said, no. I said, because of 9/11 and how it's changed our country and our rules and how people think and whatnot and how the security measures are, elevated to the extreme right now due to that fact. So kids were pretty surprised that all this affected, the world's changed since 9/11. I was pointing things that have changed since that point.
Yeah, definitely. Good stuff. I appreciate you taking a few minutes and sharing some of your thoughts, Skip, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. And I know you'll be thinking a lot about what happened 14 years ago. And we certainly do appreciate you jumping on board and sharing some of your thoughts.
Okay, have a great day. God bless America.
Thanks, Skip. Appreciate it. That was Skip Peters, who's a teacher over at Lacey Township High School.